There's a particular kind of torture that happens entirely inside your own mind. It's not about being indecisive in the casual sense. It's about standing at a crossroads and seeing not just two paths, but thousands. Every choice splits into infinite branches of consequence, each one demanding to be examined, weighed, predicted. Meet James, a 34-year-old software engineer who spent 8 months unable to decide whether to accept a job offer, not because the decision was complicated, but because his mind had made it impossible. His story reveals what happens when thinking becomes a prison instead of a tool. You've probably been there, maybe not for 8 months, but you know that feeling, when ordering from a menu becomes an existential crisis, when choosing a paint color for your bedroom takes weeks, when every option feels equally right and terrifyingly wrong at the same time. This isn't about being careful, it's about something deeper, a psychological pattern that transforms simple decisions into mental battlegrounds where nothing ever feels settled. Overthinkers have a specific relationship with choice. Where most people see a fork in the road, they see a labyrinth. Their minds don't just consider options, they dissect them, reverse engineer them, play out scenarios 20 years into the future. Psychologists call this analysis paralysis, and it's distinctly different from thoughtful consideration. When you're genuinely deliberating, your thinking moves you forward. When you're overthinking, your thoughts circle endlessly, like being trapped on a mental carousel that never stops spinning. The brain's prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making, becomes overactive. Instead of processing information and arriving at conclusions, it keeps generating new variables to consider. What if this happens? But what if that happens instead? What about the thing I haven't even thought of yet? Research shows that chronic overthinkers experience heightened activity in their default mode network, the brain system active during self-reflection and internal focus. For most people, this network helps them process experiences. For overthinkers, it becomes an echo chamber where thoughts amplify rather than resolve. At the heart of overthinking lies a deceptive promise. If I just think about this enough, I'll find the perfect answer, the one choice that carries no risk, no regret, no possibility of failure. But here's the uncomfortable truth: that choice doesn't exist. Overthinkers are often perfectionists in disguise. They're not analyzing options to make the best choice, they're analyzing to avoid making the wrong one. Every decision becomes weighted with imagined catastrophe. Choose the wrong job and your entire career collapses. Pick the wrong restaurant and you've ruined the evening. Say the wrong thing and you've destroyed a relationship. This catastrophic thinking isn't rational, but it feels rational when you're inside it. Your mind presents these scenarios with such vivid detail that they seem not just possible, but probable. And so you freeze, convinced that any movement might trigger disaster. The irony? By making no choice, you're often creating the very outcome you feared. The job opportunity expires, the restaurant closes, the relationship strains under the weight of your indecision. James had always been analytical. As a software engineer, his ability to see patterns and anticipate problems made him exceptional at his work. But when a Silicon Valley startup offered him a position with equity and a substantial pay increase, that same analytical mind turned against him. The offer sat on his desk, figuratively and literally, for weeks, then months. On one side, his current stable position at an established tech company, good salary, predictable trajectory, comfortable team. On the other side, the startup with its promise of innovation, ownership, potential wealth if the company succeeded, and potential disaster if it didn't. James created spreadsheets. He made columns for salary projections, work-life balance, career growth potential, company stability, commute times, team culture, learning opportunities, risk factors. He added weighted scoring systems. He researched startup failure rates versus established company layoff trends. I convinced myself I was being thorough, James recalled, but really, I was terrified of being wrong. Each night, James would lie awake running simulations.
If he took the startup job and it failed, he'd be jobless with a gap in his resume. But if he stayed in his current company and the startup succeeded, he'd have missed the opportunity of a lifetime. If he stayed, he might plateau, but staying was safer. But was safe the same as smart? Was he being cautious or cowardly? His girlfriend would ask, "What are you thinking about?" And he'd say, "Nothing," because he couldn't explain that he was still, at midnight, calculating the probability of various market conditions affecting a decision he'd been processing for 3 months. The overthinking bled into everything. James stopped sleeping well. He became irritable. He withdrew from friends because social plans required decisions, where to meet, what to do, and decisions had become exhausting. By month 6, the startup had extended the offer deadline twice. James's current manager had noticed his distraction, his girlfriend was frustrated, and James himself felt like he was drowning. I remember sitting at my desk one day, staring at both offer letters, and I started crying, he said. Not because the decision was hard, because I'd made it impossible. I'd thought about it so much that nothing made sense anymore. That's when his girlfriend said something that changed everything. "James, you're not trying to make the right choice. You're trying to make a choice that guarantees you won't feel regret, and that choice doesn't exist." The next day, James did something radical. He flipped a coin. Heads for the startup, tails for staying. It landed on heads, and in that instant, he felt something unexpected. Disappointment. Not relief, not excitement. Disappointment. That feeling told him what 8 months of analysis couldn't. He didn't actually want the startup job. He wanted the security of staying. "The coin didn't decide for me," James explained. "It revealed what I'd known all along, but was too afraid to trust." He declined the startup offer that afternoon. 2 years later, James is still at his original company. The startup he turned down did succeed. It's now valued at over $50 million. Does he regret his choice? "Sometimes I wonder what if," he admits. "But I've learned something more important than making the right choice. I learned that overthinking was never about finding the best option. It was about my fear of living with whatever I chose." James now has a rule. Any decision that won't significantly harm him gets a 48-hour maximum thinking period. After that, he decides and moves forward. "I still overthink sometimes," he says, "but now I recognize when my brain is problem-solving versus when it's just spinning. And I've learned that often the act of choosing is more important than what you choose." James' experience illustrates a crucial psychological truth. Overthinking is rarely about the decision itself. It's about what the decision represents. For many overthinkers, choices feel like verdicts on their character. Choosing wrong means being wrong, being flawed, being unworthy. This connects to what psychologists call self-worth contingency, when your value as a person feels dependent on external outcomes. Additionally, overthinkers often struggle with something called intolerance of uncertainty. Most people can accept that life involves unknowns. Overthinkers find uncertainty unbearable. They think that if they just analyze enough, they can eliminate uncertainty entirely, but life doesn't work that way. There's also the cognitive distortion of emotional reasoning, believing that because something feels catastrophic, it must be catastrophic. When choosing between 2 job offers feels like life or death, your brain treats it as life or death, triggering anxiety responses that make clear thinking nearly impossible. Beyond missed opportunities, chronic overthinking takes a physiological toll. The constant mental churning activates stress responses, elevated cortisol, disrupted sleep, digestive issues, muscle tension. Your body doesn't distinguish between real threats and imagined ones. Overthinkers often experience what therapists call decision fatigue. Each choice, no matter how small, depletes mental energy. By the time they face important decisions, they're already exhausted. This is why overthinkers might spend an hour choosing a restaurant, but then make impulsive purchases. Their decision-making reserves are depleted. Relationships suffer too. Partners, friends, and family become frustrated with the constant need for reassurance, the inability to commit to plans, the endless deliberation over minor details. Overthinkers often report feeling like they're burdening others with their indecisiveness, which creates additional anxiety and shame.
Breaking free from overthinking isn't about thinking less, it's about thinking differently. It requires recognizing when analysis becomes rumination, when thoroughness becomes avoidance. Some overthinkers benefit from externalizing their thoughts, writing them down so they stop looping internally. Others set strict time limits for decisions, accepting that more thinking doesn't always mean better thinking. Many discover that action itself provides the clarity that thinking never could. The most profound shift happens when overthinkers learn to tolerate imperfection. Not every choice needs to be optimal. Not every decision requires certainty. Sometimes good enough is actually perfect because it allows you to move forward, to live, to experience consequences rather than just imagine them. As James discovered, the goal isn't to never overthink again. It's to recognize when your thinking has stopped serving you and has started imprisoning you. It's learning to distinguish between wisdom and worry, between caution and cowardice. Here's what overthinkers eventually realize. The paralysis itself is a choice. Not choosing is choosing. And often the choice to remain stuck is more costly than any wrong decision would have been. Because life isn't multiple choice with one correct answer. It's more like improvisation. You make a move, you adapt to what happens next, you learn, you adjust. The people who thrive aren't the ones who make perfect choices. They're the ones who make choices and then make those choices work. Maybe you're reading this while in the middle of your own impossible decision. Maybe you've been turning something over in your mind for days, weeks, months, convinced that if you just think about it a little more, clarity will arrive. Let this be your permission. You don't need perfect information. You don't need guaranteed outcomes. You don't need to eliminate all risk before you move. What you need is to trust that you're capable of handling whatever comes next, because you are. Every decision you've ever made, good or bad, has brought you to exactly where you are right now. And wherever you go next, you'll figure it out. You always have. The choice doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be made. And then you do what every human has always done. You live with it, you learn from it, and you keep moving forward. That's not overthinking. That's just living. And it's enough.